So I finally got everything together for the QS138 e-bike. So in the last video, I put the frame together to get it ready for the motor. So I added the brakes, I added a monoshock to the swing arm. I installed the front suspension kit with the handlebars. I replaced the 6-inch rear wheel with a 10-inch. So I think it goes along with the front wheel a lot better. So in this video, to finish up the bike, I'm gonna add an Electro & Co. QS138 kit. So we got the QS138 V2 version 2. Of course, you got the 10-tooth sprocket. You got the throttle assembly, the wiring harness, the switches, the volt gauge or voltmeter. You got the EM150 controller V2 or version 2. So I think this one's a little bit smaller than the version 1. And you have a 76 volt battery. Then of course you have the 76 volt charger to go along with the battery. So instead of running the 10-tooth sprocket that came with the motor, I'm gonna run a 14-tooth because the wheels on this bike are a lot shorter than a dirt bike. So I think I'll start out with a 14 on here. So I got some L brackets that I'm gonna mount on this motor and then I'll set it on here. So it looks like this is gonna be a total bolt-on where I can bolt the motor mount to the foot peg relocation bracket. So I was trying to figure out a mount for this back mount, or a bracket for this back mount, and I can't come straight across with a bolt because the chain's in the way, so I figure I'll run up with a piece of metal here, and then I think I'm going to bolt another piece of metal to it, bolt them together right there, and then weld it to the frame. So I'm going to measure this and cut this, then I'll do the same to the other side. So I got my tab ground down and I got it shaped there for the frame, and there's plenty of room for the chain. Okay, so I got that tab done and the other side. So now I just bolt those on there and weld them on. So now I'm going to throw the battery on here, but the battery needs to set up in line with the motor mount here. So I think I'm going to use some of this boxed seal and put a couple pieces right here and then set the battery on that as the battery tray. So I got these cut. So this sit on there, and then the battery will sit on that, and it'll lift the battery up enough to clear this. So I'll go ahead and weld that up. So I welded the battery box on there, but I flipped the metal up on its side to raise the battery a little bit to totally clear the frame, and then I went ahead and boxed it in. So that's a nice strong battery box. Got it all painted. So this battery fits in there really nice. I'll have to come up with a strap to go around it. But I don't think there's going to be room for the controller up here though, like on the other e-bike. So I think for now I'll just mount it up under here with the heat sink facing down because it'll protect the controller a little bit better. So I think this will be enough metal. So I got 2 1-foot pieces. So I figure if I put pins in it right here, it'll hang the controller down far enough so it doesn't mess with the seat. Because it's got to be hanging down a little bit. So let me throw some bins in this. So I figure something like this will work, or should work. So I'm going to just roll the tabs on there and set my controller down in here. So I got the mounts bolted on there, and it sits down in here nicely. So it looks like it'll feel the seat. So I'll weld those tabs on there, and I think we'll be good to go. Looks like there's plenty of room here for the main plug under the seat to clear. got all the mounts welded on there, so that turned out pretty good. So now I think I'll drop this controller in here and then wire this thing up. And bolt this thing down. So I got the throttle assembly, the volt gauge, and the switches on here. So now all I have to do is wire this thing up. And that's one thing about Electro & Co stuff. Everything is just plug and play. And everything's color coded, so you can't mess it up. So I got the wiring all done, all complete. Everything's tucked under there really nice. That's one thing about Electro & Co stuff, like I said, it's super simple to wire. Let's see what we're running here. So we're running 68 volts, so definitely needs a charge. So I guess the only thing to do now is put a strap on this battery, because I haven't strapped the battery down yet. I think I'm gonna make one like this, similar to this one, but maybe a little bit wider, and come all the way down here with it. I think I'll bend up some of this and then fit it on there. Got all the holes drilled, so now I will bend this up. See if I can bolt this on here. Bolt her down about right there. That looks like it'll work. That's holding that thing down on there really nice. So there's one more thing I need to do before I take this thing out for a run. I noticed the kickstand, when you're sitting on the bike, will hit the ground really easy. It is so low, so I'm gonna cut this off and then maybe re-weld it up here so the kickstand's a little bit higher, because this thing sits nice and low with that swing arm. So I think I'll weld her on about right there. And that'll raise it up a ways from down here. That'll work. Looks like it's nice and tucked on there. And hopefully it gives me a little more clearance. I kind of kicked it out to the side a little bit. So I'll throw some paint on that and take her out for a ride. Oh yeah, this thing has got some power, you can tell. It's super snappy. Oh wow, this thing is quick. You can definitely tell it's got some serious torque to it. Definitely a lot more than the 120, for sure. I'll just do a, just a mediocre 0 to 30 run, just to kind of get an idea. All right, 0 to 30, QS 138. Okay, I was barely on it right there. I bet I was like, I don't know, half throttle or so. 3.42. And I was barely on it. Yeah, you can tell this thing's gonna have some serious top end. Yeah, it just keeps pulling. All right, 3.42, and I was barely on it the first 0 to 30, so let me try it again. 0 to 30, QS 138. Whoa. It broke loose right there on the dirt. Let's see what we got. A 2.63, and I still wasn't even trying. And it broke loose in the dirt. So I definitely can get this bike into the 1 second range from 0 to 30. I was on it probably like half throttle right there. Yeah, the torque on this thing is just unbelievable. You don't even really have to get on it. It's just got so much torque for this small frame. All right, let's do a sort of kind of top speed run. Wow, man, this thing moves. Do another real quick 0 to 30. Yeah, one thing about the swing arm too, it definitely holds the front end down a little bit better than the other bike that's just stretched. 0 to 30, QS 138. Wow, man, it just jumps to 30. I'm just kind of rolling into it. 2.53. Definitely a 1 second bike for sure.
This bike has got a lot of torque. I definitely could get this bike down into the 1 second range from 0 to 30. I mean, it's really easy to launch with that swing arm. So far on the shakedown run, I did 2.53 0 to 30 and 68.89. So the bike runs super smooth around 70 miles an hour with the full suspension, the swing arm and the front suspension. So I'll check everything out, make sure everything's tight, and then next time around, I'll take it out for a 0 to 30, and we'll see if we can get it into the 1 second range, and then I'll see what the true top speed is.